I've got the game Elusive Victory set up here now. I'm trying to do the training scenario because this is a difficult game, and there are a number of reasons I'll go into when I get around to the introduction. But the problem with the training scenario, I get it here, is it's really hard to find the setup for it. Now, it starts with this introductory scenario, some sort of description of what's going on, and then it goes into some, like, what appears to be abbreviated collection of the rules. What you need for this scenario, some simplifications, etc. Okay, it's going to let me learn how to fly the planes. Great, that's what I want to do. But I can't find a setup. And I find a couple of things in this setup here. There's some anti-aircraft here and a Hawk battery here. But I don't know where the planes are. They may be buried in these special rules somewhere else as well. And I have not found that yet. I haven't looked too hard. But this is what may be the most discouraging thing for approaching a new game for me is I can't even set it up and, you know, try to make some mistakes or something. The other game that hit me that way was actually Combat Commander fairly recently. I don't know, there may have been some others. But man, when a game makes it impossible for me to set up, and that one, it may be that I couldn't hunt down the pieces that I needed or something. I don't remember what it was. But here I've got everything sorted, I'm ready, I've got the pieces I need for this scenario, I think. And I can't find where the planes are supposed to start. I'm almost going to toss my hands in the air and say, you know, I can't approach this, even this limited rules, and I've read the full rules already, but I can't approach this limited rules and try to get used to how to do a couple of patterns and a couple of things I'm supposed to do if I can't fucking set the pieces up on the board. Alright. This taller tripod I have, it isn't very useful. It's about the same height as my little one. If I extend the legs on this sucker, it stands just about the same, and I can move it closer or whatever. But nothing that I can kind of pan the whole field and capture everything with. So I end up with something that, you know, is a little bit above the table no matter which I choose. Anyway, as I continue through these damn rules, and it's not the rules themselves, it's just this. Everything else I think I can handle. I think, you know, I feel like I'd have the first scenario is very tough, but I feel like I'd have a chance. Hey, I've got targets to pick. I've got all this kind of information here that I kind of vaguely know how to handle if I have it. But I don't know how to handle this, which doesn't appear, this is where it ends, to have any kind of information. I know which particular items I have in it. I know I have a Hawk and some Flak, which means I assume the Israeli force is on the defensive, except the A4s, which presumably I think are Israeli, but maybe they're not. No, they're Israeli. Which are mentioned somewhere else, and I'm just, you know, this is a before my intro, before I'm ready to cover the game. Here it says the A4 flight carries bombs to attack ground targets. Well, and they can make strafing attacks. The only ground targets in the game that I know of are these two, which there are no Hawks for the Egyptians. So you will have a Hawk SAM system that will be your target, and a medium AAA to help defend the SAM system. Great. That doesn't seem to piece together well. I just have this feeling that this scenario doesn't actually work. It doesn't tell me where the planes start, where they come on, and now maybe it does. Maybe over here, where, so this fight's on, this is like the, hey, follow along with our playthrough thing. But I'm expecting there to be something that defines the scenario more than play the game according, you know, follow exactly what we're doing and do what we do, which I think I may be forced to do, but I hate this idea. But what is present for the scenario appears to be, other than a couple little hints, like which planes and which weapons, and the anti-aircraft equipment is listed by hex. Great. But I kind of want to dive in and fiddle around and make my mistakes, you know, before I read this and start dealing with that. And most of what's here is just that pared down set of rules. And I'm not finding anything that tells me where my planes start. Let's see if we're going to have it. So here it says, okay, here it says different things. Here it says the flight is classified as laden. The A4 flight carries bombs to attack ground targets. In addition, they may make strafing. Somewhere I saw it. Here we go. The bomb load is expressed as an attack strength. Listed on the ADC, that's this, the aircraft data. And I'll look at the IAF because they're the only ones who have A4Es. And that's here. And the bomb strength there is 3. Here they say in this case 2. Now, there's already been a mistake here in terms of the rules numbers. If you're going to make mistakes, don't make them in the place where you're like saying, new players start here, right? But I was able to page that down after a while. But then I start looking over here, and this starts talking, this is the, you know, extended example of play or whatever of the game that's not really the rules that you play by. Place the Med AAA in 430 and the Hawk in 439. That's what it said elsewhere. So I've got set up here, but this is, you know, place your A4E in 4049. Okay, so it tells me where to put this plane. Maybe I'm bombing my own stuff. That wouldn't, you know, this is, okay. So that's here at the military camp. Aligned for takeoff with the runway direction north-northwest. That'll be this, I'm sorry. This is north-northwest, yeah. That'll be this way. And here it says it's laden with 3 bomb points for each aircraft. Don't worry about the Mirage flight yet. They'll enter after your bombing run. Okay, so apparently there is no scenario. There is no setup. There's no rules for how to set this up. There is, you will do this and you follow along. You don't get to play. You get to do what they talk about. I guess I'm forced to do that. It's not what I expected. It's not what the rules seem to imply that I'd be doing. It seemed to imply elsewhere that I'd get to play a scenario, you know, not follow through the turns of the scenario that is happening until I find out what the scenario rules actually should be. And this doesn't refer you to some other scenario that you should be looking to and playing instead, you know, that this is the playthrough for or anything like this. No, this is the training scenario. I'm supposed to learn by essentially reading this and pushing pieces on the board. That may work for some people. For me, what I prefer to do is be given a simple situation and puzzle it out myself and curse and bitch and moan. With this, I almost feel like I don't even want to bother. So continuing my attempt to try to get this first scenario played. I fill out a log sheet for the plane. Now, call sign I think is the name of the plane, but I'm not sure. It may be something else. The call signs aren't on the dummy counters, which you would use to replace that plane when it's unknown by the enemy. It's attacking an Israeli unit and it's an Israeli plane, so I don't know what's going on anyway. And I filled out the aircraft type, which is an A4. I should put E on there. And I looked this up and start getting the information here. Now inside they give more detailed information on the A4. So the A4E has no RWR, or whatever that is. And then some additional information as to when it's available, etc. Some nice pictures of it. Great. Now, what's not in here is, hey, fill out this sheet. I'm not sure how you're supposed to fly the plane without the sheet, but that's not one of the first things that they suggest doing that I see. Maybe I'm mistaken, because again, I don't like to read these things that much, but it doesn't look like there's any information on that. And this is going to be horrible trying to play this out, because you know, I don't have a scenario. I just have this. It's like being forced to play a training, you know, scenario in a video game or something. Who the hell wants to do this shit? You know. At least if they tell you, okay, now move your mouse over here and click this. That's what this is going to feel like. But over here somewhere, where I was, they explain the log sheets and what goes in them. And what's unfortunate about this, and why I really did the video at this point, coming back on, is here it shows a log sheet for an F4B. Well, the F4B doesn't exist in this game. We have F4Es and some other versions. We don't have the F4B here either, I don't think. Of course, you might catch me saying, oh shit, I'm wrong. Maybe it's buried inside here, but I don't think so. No, just the F4Es. So what I suspect is happening here is segments of the rules were taken from Downtown, which is Attacking Hanoi, I think. And the same design, well, same system designer, and it was just clipped out without the support for this particular game being considered for it. Now that makes sense when there's series rule books, but it doesn't make a lot of sense when you make the rule book, hey, this is the Elusive Victory rule book, right? Yeah, I'm a grumpy ass person, but you know, this is not an easy game to learn, and it's not making itself any easier by providing you with, at least by providing me with the things that I need to learn a game. The rulebook is actually well written. I feel like I had a fair idea of what's going on, but it's a very complex game, and I want to see if I can get this training scenario done. But boy, is it trying to stymie me. The thing the game suggests is plotting a course. Okay. Gives me some information here. For this scenario, red force will have a detection level of C and blue force will have a detection level of B. We'll worry about what that means when we get to it. I'm not entirely sure which side is better. I think that's how well you detect the other person, and you want to be closest to A. But I'm not really remembering very well. Now, what they write here for the plotted course is to take off from Rephidim, the air base here, fly out. You can see they've got an indication there, and I've traced this out on my my map. You got a little thing, and this is almost impossible to read. If I zoom in, you can almost see it, but you know, nobody with normal eyes can see this. So I'm counting hexes on the board and translating it over here. This is obviously not a good play aid for what you're using this for. Now this is, you know, all that we have is, they're a little better when I haven't got them off my printer, but they're still awfully tiny and hard to read. And if I can't, you know, print it out, I'm not gonna be able to play it. I'm not gonna be able to play it more than 3 times. There's like 3 sheets or something in the game. So anyway, I do this, and I plot out this route, and I go to here, and then I'm flying up here. Okay, great. But what's explained here is that I climb to medium altitude at WP1, so I'm climbing up to here. Well, what's different though is here in the rules, it isn't giving the flight path as something that you have to plot the altitudes for. At least not that I remember or saw. It's just talking about this joining the dots and crap like that. Now, it would certainly make sense that you would have to plot the altitude, but I don't have an easy way to indicate that. And this doesn't show anything like that. It just shows the route. And in fact, this only shows the route as well, except where they've put some counters on the board, which I'm not sure, you know, if that's meant to be, hey, this flight is on deck right now, and it should really be on top of it, but we didn't want to show it that way, or I can't imagine that this is for the landing way down here because there's no other altitude changes there. And you're certainly not supposed to use the counters on the board to indicate where you're going. The little circled areas that I'm getting here are the waypoints with a bombing type of mission, with a mission, let's call it that, because you can be doing reconnaissance and stuff like that. With a mission for an aircraft, as opposed to, say, flying, you know, cap or something, you have to plot it out all in advance and then follow that plot. And if you get diverted from it due to a fight or something, you have to go back to one of these little circled waypoints. So it's kind of important that you get these and be able to see them. I don't know how that's going to be possible with some of the larger scenarios where, you know, let's see, this sucker here, look at, I don't know how many flights we have. It's not absolutely clear to me. 25 flights available for the Israeli in their first wave, i.e. the first planes that come on the board. Wow, you know, this is going to be unreadable unless, you know, you have many sheets, etc. So I'm going to probably be keeping this to very, very small scenarios, just because I can't see physically how to play the game in larger scenarios. We'll see, we'll see. But clearly I would like to play the larger scenarios to get a feel for them. That's usually where my enjoyment comes. Anyway, we have made it almost to turn one. And it's time for me to take a break because this is just too much excitement. Okay, now during turn one it says use the sequence of play during the raid. It took me a while to find this card. I had it hidden somewhere. On the first turn you skip the random events phase, and since we have no standoff GME aircraft, we'll skip that phase as well. And we go down to detection. While placing the aircraft on the map will constitute our movement action for turn one. Okay, so I think we're down here somewhere. Not sure why we're skipping C, but the detection phase is skipped on the first turn because we're not airborne, that's why. Okay, the plane is put on the map and it's put on its undetected side. We can still tell what the plane is. If this was a normal scenario, we'd be using one of these dummies so that our opponent wouldn't know if it's a real plane nor what the flight comprised of in terms of type, whatever. And then after movement, there's all kinds of other stuff which I guess we don't do. Okay, now we go to turn two. For this scenario, we continue to skip A and B. So during a detection, we roll on detection table C. Okay. Detection table C column. Alright, that's over here. Why C? C, I think, because somewhere else it said, now they don't help you here, but the Red Force has a detection level of C. That's what they're going to see. And let's look at the modifiers. The target is on deck. Okay, he is. He just took off, so we should have a little deck marker on him. Basically ground level. So that's going to give us a -3. Are we in rough terrain? Well, we assume not, because that's going to be this color. This kind of crap. And we're in the desert. Okay. Okay, so now we roll the dice and we end up rolling a 4 and a 6 because we're not allowed to actually be playing the game. All we're allowed to do is fiddle around and match what this says because there's no real scenario here. It's not really a trading scenario, it's a read along and move some pieces thing. It's modified by -3 for deck, so we have a total of 7. 7 is low enough that we don't get a detection result. Okay. And, you know, I don't know how much value this is to anyone, or fun, but I feel like I need to go through it to be prepared to try a real scenario. Now we're going to use dash throttle. Now there's basically two kinds of movement in this game. There's fast, which is the dash throttle, and there's regular, which I think is combat. We can look that up. 6.22, let's see what the difference is here. Yeah, combat throttle is the normal. Dash throttle is going to give us more movement points. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on here. So, we're looking at an A4E Skyhawk, I think. It's an A4? We don't know. It's an A4E Skyhawk. And we're going to look at dash for that. And it is loaded because it has the bombs on board. That's the LD versus clear. And then it's at low altitude. So we're going to be looking at a speed of 3. Let's see if that's correct. Yep, 3 movement points from the dash column. But this is our second turn of takeoff, so we can only use half our speed rounded up. Well, I don't know that rule. So we have 2 movement points. Our first one will be to move to 4148. Pretty exciting. And our second will be to climb to low altitude. So as you can see, you expend movement points to move hexes and to climb and fall. There's going to be limitations on the ability to turn rapidly. That uses up movement points, but you also have limitations as to how tight a turn you can make, as well as how quickly you can climb and dive, etc. And again, we're not going to catch all that in this, but we're getting some little idea of what's going on. We've completed our movement, and now during the fuel phase, we mark off a box of fuel. Hey, would have been nice if they told us fill out our little sheet, right? But no. So we're going to mark that just with a line. Easier to erase. The grayed out, completely grayed out squares, that's fuel we didn't even have. This plane can't carry that much fuel. Okay, we're marking the fuel off because we went dash speed. You can fly forever at combat speed, which seems like a bit of an abstraction, but for the scale of the game, maybe it's proper. We skip F through H, but note that in Phase 1, the Hawk battery and AAA could switch on. For our scenario, they're already switched on, and I've got them marked both. Now, what's funny with these counters, the flak counters here, these have different weight flak on them, but over with the Arab counters, the flak counters on their backside have an inactive or off side. I think these are misprint counters. Maybe some C3I or something has replacements for them. But we're going to have to figure out some way of coping with that as we play. Hopefully we'll be playing small enough scenarios because I don't think we can cope with the bigger ones. That won't be an issue. For our scenario, they're already switched on and waiting for us, but they've been told to wait until we get to medium altitude before attempting acquisition. Yeah? Where'd that happen? Okay, I don't remember and don't see anything about pre-plotting for these, but there are rules by which these suckers are pre-plotted. Instead of having done that within the scenario guideline, nah, we're just told at this point, yeah, they were set up then, and this plane, it's going to fly in at some point during this story. We have no control over anything. We don't get to roll dice. We don't get to do anything here. Okay, third turn, Let's see where we are in the sequence. So what confuses me here is we're not rolling any random events phase. Why? I'm not sure, but we'll worry about that when we get to a real scenario, I suppose. Skipping to detection, we again roll on detection column C. Here, and the net roll they had is a 3 and an 8 for 11. We don't get the -3 because we're not on the deck. We're just at low. Now visual sighting and radar search. far away are we? Different altitude band. I'm not sure why these aren't in play. I guess this is air versus air. It's not really spelled out here. They're not being called out here. So we're going to have to assume they know what they're doing. Okay, so we're dashing again. That's going to cost us a fuel. And we move to 4348, which is here. We're still following our map. Damned if we're going to know when we're going to get where we're supposed to get, because translating this to that is going to be very difficult, but okay. Okay, that cost us 2 movement points to move those 2 hexes. And now we're going to climb to medium. And there's a marker no matter what altitude you're at. There's no default altitude, which I think is kind of a waste to not do that. But that costs another movement point. During fuel, we move off of fuel box. Now, our speed is still dash. We're still on the low. Low in deck is L. I don't know if that spells it out here, but it is elsewhere. I remember seeing it, and we mark off another fuel because we went fast. Okay, now during the SAM acquisition phase, the Hawk will attempt to acquire our aircraft as we are at range 9, which is within its 12 hex acquisition range. How do we know that? Well, somewhere this information has to exist. SAM data table, Hawk. It's got 9 shots. It lolls at N. Acquisition range is 12 hexes, so that's what they're talking about. Now that's just for detection. That's using the radar or whatever. I can only attack once it's within 8. Okay. We roll on the SAM acquisition table. It's here. The target is undetected because it's on its question mark side. And we roll 2 dice with a -3 for our defensive jammer. What defensive jammer? Target defensive jamming strength. Okay, well that should be present. I didn't note that. Jam. 3 with a D. What does D mean? I don't know. Might be this 4 here? No, that's this thing. Ah, deception jamming. That's what it means. Okay, so there are multiple kinds of jamming. I'm trying to remember which one's which. We'll get to that in the rules. I don't remember the different types. You know, modern air combat is really outside of my knowledge area. I watched Top Gun. That's really about it. Once. Although I have to say, Berlin is awesome. That perhaps their crappiest song that they did. I mean, it just doesn't sound like them, and it's not. It's not something they wrote. Okay. So let's see. Range of 9. We roll on SAM acquisition with a -3 for our defensive jammer. We roll dice, and we get a 4 and a 6 again. Cool. That way I don't have to move them. And that's going to get us a 10 -3. Which will put us down below. If we had gotten an actual 10 with the penalty in there, we'd have a partial acquisition. Partial acquisition allows you to fire at things at a penalty, and it also gives you a chance to keep tracking that item, that plane. Now, We don't have any other information on this chart. And again, the rules are kind of fuzzy in my head, so I'm just playing this to try to reinforce and prepare for when I hit the rules. Again, I don't know how useful this is, but fighting my way through it is helping me, even if it doesn't help anyone else. So then we'll move to turn 4. Now note, let's take a look at this. We have a normal detection phase here, but what happened here was the SAM acquisition phase, which is an attempt to acquire a target, not to detect something. Come back and babble a little bit about something I do remember. I remember more from kind of the notes at times than the actual rules. So philosophically, the difference there is, yeah, you know, that SAM site has detected the planes if it has a partial acquisition, but what it's meant to say is that with the high, you know, turnaround time of communications, etc., that information's not getting sent out anywhere outside of that SAM site. So the overall coordination can't take into account that that plane has been detected. And the SAM doesn't have enough overall information, no matter what they know about the plane, to be able to tell you, you know, whether to make command decisions there at a level that the player should have input in. So you kind of have some randomness. You could have a target acquisition, I believe, I may be wrong about this, on something that's not even there. So then you end up blowing up a goose or something if you fire. Okay, so turn 4, detection phase, roll on table C again. If we can find it. A lot of charts in this game. And their roll comes out to be a 14, a 6, and an 8. I don't need to play with the dice. Now, in this case, we're no longer on the deck. There's nothing modifying it, according to this, although these don't appear to apply. So we flip over to the detected side, which means now the type of plane is available and known. Now you sort of know that with the name here, and I think it's kind of weird that the game hides that, because if we were playing the normal, I think this counter, although there is a detected side to this, maybe something else is needed for identification. Dash is selected again, and now we're still loaded, but we're up at medium altitude now, which is the second space here. So now we have 4 movement points. And they say the first 2 get us to 45, 47. 1, 2. And at this point we get a free turn. Again, we haven't looked at what the movement rules are, but this is giving us an idea. Now, this is already plotted here, that we're taking the turn in whatever this hex is, one above this road thingy, you know. And we're gonna, in order to actually plot this, we'd have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because there's so little ability to map between the 2 maps. Okay, now during, and now we have 2 more movement points to 45, 45. Okay, we haven't changed altitude, which I think should be plotted, but from here, but again, the other rules don't say. Fuel phase, we mark a 3rd fuel because we're running so fast. Okay, and now phase F is skipped. Well, phase F is the SAM location phase. I had to look that up to see what the hell it was. If the SAM was powered on, I think we can we would be able to find it, and then we'd be able to use it as a target or something at that point. Phase G track phase. We roll on the track table, okay, which is over here. And now what we do is it's column C because the enemy's a C detection. We roll 2 dice and we get a 15. And let's look at 15. 15 seems to give us a heart. If we were of that suit, now here's where we're screwed up, is we may not have the right counter for this particular scenario. There's a specific counter you're supposed to use for this. In this case, we're a diamond. What would happen if we had the right suit is that we'd flip the detected aircraft over to their undetected side. And then some of the results depend on your altitude and such not. Okay. Phase H is SAM acquisition phase. The Hawk tries to find us. They roll 2 dice. The result is a 10 minus 3. Why? Why minus 3? Oops. We can't lose our flight plan. Okay, well, where's the Hawk acquisition? That's not what it is. SAM acquisition. So it's now a detected target, but not an acquired target. And the minus 3 is, I think, the jamming still in place. So anyway, with a 14 minus 3, that puts us at 11 or more. That's a full acquisition? No. 10 minus 3 is partial acquisition. Okay, so we're detected. We get there. That gives us... There seems to only be one color of these. No, there they are. That gives us this, which indicates that we are now a target. Now, I don't know. I think this is the wrong piece. What I should be using is Hawk number 1, I guess. Yeah. See, Hawk's blue. That's the problem. So I should be using Hawk number 1's piece, because only these radar-guided missiles and such not get you this kind of acquisition. Theoretically, if this was a real scenario, these guys would be different color, and this would be one of these units on there. Now imagine how difficult it's going to be. We're going to have to sort through these suckers to match the numbers of the different anti-air equipment that's trying to hit them. It might be more reasonable to have it sorted into little tiny stacks. I don't know. It's just going to be a pain in the butt prior to the scenario to set that up. And now we have partial acquisition, and whoo boy, this is fatiguing to try to go through just the mechanisms. I'm sure it's going to be just as fatiguing when we have decisions to make, no question, but I need my breaks. Okay, let's continue to inch our way through this. I'll tell you this much. If it weren't for doing it on video, there's no way I would be doing this on the board at this point. I would just be like, this is so stupid. But it may actually be helping me to be doing these mechanical actions. I don't know. This is not how I normally learn. So, since we're detected already, we skip the detection phase. In movement, we're going to dash again. That gets us 4 movement points for the same reasons as it did before. Our altitude hasn't changed. We're at long range to the Hawk battery at a range of 7 hexes. 1, 2, 3. Okay, why is that long range? That'll be SAM attack, maybe? See SAM data. Long range is 6 to 8. That's got a penalty. I think they mean the Hawk's long range, because my bombs can't hit it until I'm in its hex, I think, because I think I'm doing a dive bombing mission here. But we will close into the heart of the envelope for a shot once we reach a range of 5 hexes. We'll be moving our first 2 movement points to 45, 44. Oh, I seem to have gotten my numbers wrong because I'm down here. This can't be. Our last 2 to 45, 45, that's where we are. 45, 44, and they say 2 movement points. I don't see that. I do not see that. I see 1 there. Maybe it's mistaken. The red 4, and that's one of the problems. Maybe it's mistaken, and this is what I'm supposed to learn from, right? So now here it says the Red Force SAM commander calls out on the radio that the Hawk battery is firing. Well, I think I'm supposed to get to here, 45, 43. I think there's a typo, 2, 3, 4, 5. And one of the things I like, this is an actual paper rule book, so I can write in it. And I can write in a pencil that I can erase, so I've got like a little question in the notation here. Glossy rule books that have been coming out more modern, yeah, you know, I can't do this. I can't learn by, and I can't make corrections. Okay, so he calls out the fire. He's firing. The Red Force commander would now roll on the SAM attack table, which is over here. And we have a number of different things there. Let's see what we have. The Hawk site has plenty of missiles. Now, theoretically, this is what we don't have here. There should be information written on here. So each player has their own set of sheets. So the attacker would have, not actually this sheet, they'd have an attack sheet. I filled out the plane on here, but they would have information on the bombing and the mission as well here. There isn't a hell of a lot of need for all that, and I wanted to keep it to 1 sheet, but I got to put the SAM information in here, and I haven't done that. So this is SAM number 1, and it should really say Hawk 1 or something. The hex 4339, that's just to help me find it. It's got 3 hull shots and a profile. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. And unfortunately, I'm not going to look that up just yet. Okay. The Hawk has plenty of missiles. They will also fire 2 salvos. Looking at the modifier, and 2 salvos, I'm not sure what they mean. A salvo is generally 2 missiles, so I think that's going to actually fire off 2 of my shots. I have 9 shots on a Hawk. Huh. Are there other sheets that have more firepower on them? They don't appear to be. Maybe I'm missing something. Okay, there doesn't appear to be anything that has enough shots to cover that sucker. So I'm not sure how much these SAM sheets are going to help here. It's not this. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, well, so I've got 9 shots. I'm going to fire 2 of them. So if I had a sheet that had this on it, I could mark them off, but that doesn't seem to exist in the game. Okay. Looking at the modifiers on the SAM table. Target attack modifiers for a Hawk. It's low or medium. That's going to give me a +1. That's what I'm looking up here. And on the SAM attack table, we took the modifier for the altitude. It's not long range because we waited until we got into the medium range. It's a partial acquisition though, so it's a -2. Now, is this salvo fire? I don't know. I would think so, but maybe not if it's a hawk. No, +2 for a salvo. So we get the total of +2. We roll the dice. We get a 12 plus 2 of 14, which is a hit. And now we roll on the SAM damage table. We only have partial acquisition, so we have a lower damage profile. Defensive jamming column. What the hell? Now, first we got to go over. So here it says roll on the SAM damage table. No, that's a lie. First we get our SAM defense. We have defensive jamming. Our standoff jamming strength. Okay. We didn't write that down. Where are our jammies? Okay. Is that the 3D? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe? We get to use our defensing jamming column, and we roll a 7 plus a 7 is a 14. It doesn't seem like we have any modifiers. Again, that's not clear. We certainly don't have an RWR, right? But it's not an SA6. The target can see us. I don't know where poor jamming defense or whatever, poor SAM defense would be there. But we have a jamming of 3D, and that D means something. It meant some kind, deception jamming. Now there are rules on the different kinds of jamming, but I don't know if any of them have anything about... Standoff jamming strength would be if there's something like an AWACS positioned, or whatever the equivalent is, something that's using active electronic warfare to slam down the whole thing. So it looks to me like there's nothing from the vehicle itself or the plane itself that comes into play. Okay. It would be nice if it went into why these modifiers don't apply. Again, this is not well designed to learn. Even for a scripted thing, it's not giving me all the reasons why something applies or doesn't apply. So maybe it's a way to convince you to look into the rules, but whatever. It even doesn't point you into there very well. Okay. So I guess I had a miss. If the result had been no effect, then the SAM attack result would have stood as rolled. Yeah, I would assume so. And then if an avoidance result, what the fuck? Okay, so I got a miss. A no effect would mean, I guess I roll on the damage table, and an avoidance would do something. Then we would have to follow the rules for avoidance. Wow, that's bloody fucking helpful. We mark the Hawk with a SAM launch marker. There we go. Did we mark off the ammo? Because where did it go? Having successfully avoided the SAM, we continue with our last two movement points to 45-41, and yes, we have it correct here. We mark off a box of fuel. Now, if the SAM site had only been a SAM warning marker, we could attempt to roll for a SAM location, but here we already have the SAM site located. So we'll skip SAM acquisition phase because the Hawk Commander's done with his training for us. During the admin phase, we would remove the SAM launch marker. Okay, well, we'll do that because we're done, and I don't know if this is doing any good at all. Okay, turn 6 here, they say skipping to the movement phase. Is that legitimate or not? We're not sure, but looking here, the only thing jamming isn't in this scenario, that we don't have standoff markers. Detection, our flight is detected. So the only thing we're kind of missing here is the random events phase, which for some reason is being suppressed in this scenario. Fine. We're about to close in on the target, so we chose dash throttle for 4 movement points. And again, we haven't changed altitude, so we're fine. First movement point to 4540. And a free turn 60 degrees left. Second movement 4439. Alright, we're coming in there. And declare the beginning of the bomb run. Okay, so now when we programmed this out, and I don't know if we were supposed to do this or not, it's easier to see here. They have IP here. That's, I believe, where you start the bombing run. I don't know if it's for initialized procedure or something like that. And I have that tracked on here if I can find where I've written anything. Let's see. Okay, so I've got I got that written right right there. IP. All right. However, first we have to brave the medium flak in 4340. This hex. They have a 1 hex range around them. So they roll on the AAA table. In case they need their tires fixed. Which we have to find. And that's one thing we'll get used to. Where the hell all these tables actually are present? Yeah, no, it's not going to work. There it is. Okay. And what do they say? Medium flak, medium altitude. And they say you need a 17. What's that minus? If the flight is hit, roll on the flak damage table. The modifier in parentheses is applied to air-to-ground attacks and rescue rolls. Okay, so that'll be a penalty on any bombing I'm making, I guess. So we need a 17 or higher to hit. On 2 dice, we get a 13. Okay, we're missed. And there doesn't seem to be any modifier on this. Our third movement point takes us over here. And now we're diving to low, which I believe is our... I think you can dive bomb without actually losing altitude, if that's desirable. But this improves our bombing chances. The medium flak again gets to shoot, but this time on the low altitude column, which doesn't seem to exist. Good. I don't know. Oh. So the 17 or higher, this was a medium flak on the medium altitude. Now it's a medium flak on the low altitude. Now we only need a 15 or higher. And we roll and we get a 15, which is a possible hit. So then we go over to the flak damage table. And this is a barrage because it's not a fire can or gun dish. Those are specific types of weapons, specific different types of flak. We get a +1 die roll modifier for being on a bombing run. That's here. Our speed is 4. That's going to be a -1, right? Yeah. So that nets out. They roll for a total of 7, which is less than the first result, so there's a no effect. Okay. Now, the 2 planes drop their bombs. Their bomb strength is 3 each, so the total attack value will be 6. We find the air-to-ground attack table. A lot of tables in this game. There it is. Modifiers. There's a +1 for the bomb sight. Where do we find that? This is an A4E. It's got a sight of +1. It's the sight modifier. You have to know that bomb sight is equal to sight. Okay, we keep looking for where we are here. 0 for target profile C. This is the particular type of installation, have different profiles. So the easiest to hit are infantry units, which have, I guess, a target profile of D. A is particularly hardened targets. I can't speak too much about what they are until we look at them. I know I've read it, but okay. And that should be under Hawk, where Hawk is defined. There's got to be a place where they talk about Hawks and what their ratings are. Here we go, the SAM data table. The Hawk has... Nope, it's not on here. It's in the rulebook. The armor capacity for the different types of things. No help there. So that would be a rules lookup. -1. Oh shit. See, my paperclip came loose. Crap. For low altitude, I guess. See that here. -2 for the medium flak barrage. Well, where's that? Yeah, like we're going to catch all of these. So this isn't on here, but there's a -flak modifier. And if we look back somewhere else that we were at in these charts and tables, the medium at low range gives us a -2 just for undergoing that fire. We didn't have to get hit. And then we roll on the 6 column because that's how much we're bombing with. And they say we get a 13. Oh, -2. I guess that's the total die roll modifier. Ends up being -2. So that gets us to an 11. And there's a 3. Then we roll on the damage table. Over here, the success rating is 3, and we get to see what kind of damage we have. Now, I don't know if this actually happens at this point, but we'll keep going with this example as written. I seem to remember there's something where you get a damage rating, but then you don't assess it until you actually do a flyover, or at the end of the scenario, in the case of campaigns. And they get a 13. That'll be a heavy result. And heavy AAA suppress 2. Fire can SAM is damaged. So this is now a damaged Hawks or SAMs. Heavy damage results in the Hawk being knocked off the air, but not totally destroyed. Now, do we have any kind of damage markers for these? Geez, I don't know. Some things have a damaged side to them, but Hawks don't have that. They just have off. So, I guess we'd write that down on paper. And now the 4th movement point takes us to 4237. Shit. Which doesn't seem right. Let's stack these back on. This is almost impossible just because I've got this damn thing in my hand, the camera. I should be using the tripod, but I can't get the tripod to zoom in on something like that and keep. So let's see where we were. Luckily, we have everything written down here. We would have our flight plan if we could read that. But right now, let's see. We should be at 4339. Yeah, we're here, but we came from somewhere else. 4439 or something. We came from here into here. There doesn't seem to be a turn, and I would be kind of confused if we could turn while attacking. And then we go on to, what was the hex again? Jesus, my hand's hurting. 4237, which is not where I thought we would go. Do we have multiple movement points here? We finished our 4th movement point. Well, this is killing my back trying to deal with reading this and applying it. And there may be a mistake here. So 4439, 4339. Is that 2 movement points? Yeah. Wait, no. 2nd movement point was 4439. That's here. This has to be a 3rd movement point. I only have 1 more. I can't fly all the way out here to 4237 where it's saying I'm supposed to go. So pretty obviously, and this is why this is pointless. So unless there's rules that you can do hyper jumps, I suspect something's wrong here. But, you know, let's keep following the example because that's how we'll learn how to play the game, right? We'll learn how to cheat and make these quick jumps. I have no fucking clue. Anyway, that's all I'm doing for now. Maybe I'll be back later today. Okay, let's face the most complicated and final of the paragraphs, turn 7. So, if you recall, we have this Mirage here, and this is the wrong one. We're supposed to have a specific one for this, but it doesn't make a difference. That's just the, well, it might in terms of the little symbol on them, if that comes into play here. Okay, so he'll be undetected on 3638, heading north-northwest, but yeah, this way. Okay. Now these have Chauffeur, 2 heat-seeking missiles and 30mm guns. I'm not going to write them down. Well, I don't know what value this whole exercise has been. During detection phase, we would get to roll on column B because our force started out as column B on the detection table. We find here, and we'd need a 10 or higher, and I think we'd be using the visual sight here in order to do this. We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hexes away. We don't know their altitude. They didn't tell us that. Medium altitude. So, put this here. This acquisition doesn't exist anymore because the Hawk was knocked out. It was taken offline. Okay. So anyway, they say we failed to detect them. Great. Movement phase would be decided using initiative chits. Now, these guys go into a cup here, not those, somewhere. These guys go into a cup here, and you make a draw out of it to see how many of your units you get to move, and it's going to be kind of a pulsed thing. In this case, the defender would get the choice, the red player, in order to draw first or choose to defer. If they defer, then we draw from the small force chit pool because we don't have a lot of planes on the board. And that's going to be looking at the backside with the SM on it. And we just pick one of these at random and look at how many units we'd get to move. So we draw a 1, which means we have to move first. drew any number other than 0. We take a dash with 4 movement points. Even though we're clean, okay, somewhere's our plane. So we're the A4E Skyhawk, clean now, but we're at low altitude, so we only get 3 movement points normally, but 4 if we do the dash. Because remember, we dropped some height. We move to WP3, that's waypoint 3. We should have that charted already. We're still following our flight plan at 4138. Okay, see, I think this hex 4237 here is where we were supposed to end up. Oh. No. 4238. We were in 4237. I think this is supposed to be 4238. There are definitely some little errors here. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case. So now we move to 4138. And here we've got another turn plotted somewhere on our sheet. Good luck seeing this. So our plane moved here. This is the waypoint that we're at here. And now we're turning this way. That doesn't cost us anything. We dive to deck and turn 60 degrees left. Well, they're saying this, turn 60 degrees left in hopes of evading the Mirage flight. I don't think we have any choice because we're following our plot right here. Seem to still be detected. Okay, we move. Three more. Oh, no. We move to the waypoint. Now we move 3 more movement points we haven't dropped yet to waypoint 4, 3839. 1, 2, 3 more movement points. And now we make the final turn. And this is, again, this is waypoint 4. This is what we're already plotted to do. We haven't broken our plot in any way. And I don't think we can. I don't think we're allowed to evade enemy planes just on a whim like this if we've got a bombing run plotted. Okay. Well, now we're done. And I'm not quite sure if there's a way to mark that movement. You would think there would be, other than by marking off fuel or whatever. But I don't think there's a counter, and the initiative counters go back in the chit cup, I think. So I'm really not sure mechanically how this is going to work. It's okay with a couple of planes on each side maybe, but it's going to get pretty damn hairy if you've got a lot of units in play. I'm just trying to see if there's something in the markers that would indicate a plane having been used. I don't see anything. We'll see if there's more, but I don't remember anything like that. All right, let's hold here. Okay, let's keep seeing what we have here. So they're clean and have a combat throttle for 4 movement points, and we have to look the suckers up too and see what they would be like. These were Mirages. That's only going to be on the French chart, right? No, it looks like there's some kind of Mirage 3s. I got a Mirage 5 there. I may be using the wrong plane. I may be supposed to be using... Here we go, Mirage 3. Okay. What did I say? Clean and combat throttle. Alright, well, we try to find them again. Here they are. Now they're at medium height, clean. They have a 4 combat throttle. If they were dashing, they would have 6. I'm not quite sure why they're not dashing, but this could end up being the geometrics of the movement. Their first movement point is to 3738. And now they dive to low altitude. Kind of sucks to use a chip for everything. And turn 60 degrees north-northeast. Now, they're not using a flight plan. They don't have to. They're an interceptor. They're not on a bombing run. They're not on a recon mission or anything like that. They're just out here to, you know, try to get some drive my planes away. Their second movement point is to 3838, where they dive to deck. Look like I'm getting away from them, and turn again into me. Okay, now they're on my tail, and they're on the requirements to engage, 11.21. I believe that's just 1 hex distance. I'm not going to look that up. Well, again, you know, this probably works better if you look up each rule and work through it, but this is really fatiguing to very little effect anyway. And, you know, I'm not making any decisions here, so I don't need to know the rules. All I have to do is read this little thing, right? Whatever. This just doesn't work for me. And they can make an engagement roll on the engagement table, 11.22. And we search for an engagement table here, which, if these tables are numbered correctly, that'll be over on this sheet. Oh, there we go. So what happens? Well, if it's daytime and I'm trying to go after a detected enemy, it looks like I need a 9 or more, and I have some modifiers. The first one's aggression value, which we did not roll for this scenario. Some choices of different attacks, like a slash attack is an attempt to basically do a flyby and shoot. It's a little safer on yourself, but I'd be in the rear hemisphere. That gives me a -1 bonus at least, and I assume none of the rest is in effect. Both flights have not determined their aggression rating. Okay, so there's a question of when you do your aggression rating, and here they're saying to do it as needed. There's a possibility that you might be doing it before the scenario, depending on choices that you make in the game, I guess. So that's the flight quality table, and that'll be in the other booklet because it starts 28. Let's look through everything that we can before we find it. At least that's what we're assuming, that it'll be in the other. There we go. Okay. The Mirage rolls on the Ace column and the A4 on the Veteran column. This is listed in the scenario details. No, I'm sorry, there were no scenario details. Is this some actual scenario that we're pulling up here? It would have been nice to give us that scenario, because then we could have just played it. But no, I don't see it in any scenario details. Let's see if there is this fucking starting scenario. I don't think there is. I think they're just giving us bullshit here. Because I don't know anything that has this few number of planes in it that's in here. I have no idea. But they don't tell you a scenario, so they're, you know. Okay. So, as you can see, you get an aggression rating. You want a high rating. The Mirage rolls 2d10 for 17. They get a +3 rating. Over on the Ace side, and likewise the A4 gets a +1. Rolling on the engagement table, the Mirage, let's get back here, if we can find it. I don't know, it's got to be here somewhere, right? Oh god, my back's killing me from this. Yeah, I don't know where the fuck it is anymore. There it is. Okay, so the Mirage gets its aggression value of +3 on there. It rolls 2d10, and the number of dice you roll for any given table is pictured. It's either going to be 1 or 2 dice. This is something Avalon Hill used to do in their later days. Anyway, let's see. It rolls on the detected column for day. It rolls a 9 + 3 for 12. That means it's going to have an engagement says. The A4 rolls on the undetected column because this plane is still undetected. Rolls a 3 and a 7 for a 10. That's going to be an unsuccessful attempt to find it. And if the attacker engages and the defender does not, the attacker is going to have surprise, and it's going to disadvantage the defender. Next, we roll on the maneuver table to see how many shots occur. Okay, so here's the maneuver table. And you compare 2 dice again. You use the 1 column if the defender's in a wheel. Well, if some unit is in the defensive wheel, that may be the attacker, I think it is. The unit is disorganized, the unit's making multiple attacks, or it's a 2-plane EAF attacking prior to 1973. Well, I don't know what year this was. Otherwise, use the 2 column if it's a 3 or 4-plane Egyptian unit attacking prior to 1973. Otherwise, you use the column of the number of planes. So theoretically, we'd be using 2-plane column here. And there are modifiers, maneuver differential. We have to look at the maneuver ratings. That's going to be here. So the Mirage has a maneuver rating cleared at low altitude or deck of 6, and the A4E is going to have a 5 because we've dropped our bombs. So let's see where we are. Rolling on the engagement table, yeah, we did that. Okay. We roll on the maneuver to see how many shots. The Mirage gets +1 maneuver differential. That's the 6 versus 5. +2 aggression differential. Sure, that's here. Geometry modifiers. Oh, God. My fucking back. Okay, so it's going to be a +1 modifier for being in the rear arc. If the attacker's in the defender's rear, the geometry modifiers are +1 to -1. I think being surprised, we're not going to get a shot at all. +3 surprise modifier, I'm sure that's on there. Total +7, rolling 2 dice. We end up at a 17. That's going to cause 3 shots on here. Great. God. Chartmaster, huh? The A4, okay, it looks like it does get shots. It gets a -1 maneuver differential, -2 aggression differential, -1 geometry, and we saw that that was reflexive over here. All right, we're lost again. For a -5 total, I don't see a surprise modifier there. I don't see that there. There's the disadvantage, but I think we added that in. Who knows? Yeah, there it is. 2 dice, roll a 7 and 5 for a 12. We subtract 5. That's going to give us a 7. And we're still 2 planes, but a 7 is off the bottom of the chart. You'll never get a hit there. We roll for shot resolution on the shot resolution table. The Mirage player selects his gun as a primary weapon to maximize his DRM. Well, what choices did he have? Some missiles or something? We don't know. We have a bunch of options and we don't remember what. We're armed with these Shafir missiles. So they've got a 6 there, and the 30mm gun has a 3. I think that's damage. Or something. No, that's the depletion number. Okay, well, we don't know why that weapon does better, why the gun does better. Let's try to find the right table for this. We don't know. You'd think the air combat would all be in one place. Try to find the right book for the right table. This will be, I guess, the damage table? No? No, this is the shot resolution table. Okay. It's fun, isn't it? Okay, there it is. It was where I wanted it. So we take the undepleted weapon to shoot, roll 2 dice, and apply modifiers. Okay, the modifier is the combat value of the weapon. And an additional undepleted weapon in the flight. Yeah, I don't know. Do we see anything that looks like a combat value in here? We've got this number, but that's the depletion value. Yeah, we don't know. Okay, so we'll read the description and see if that tells us anything useful. The Mirage player selects the gun. The first shot is rolled with a +3 gun rating DRM. Okay, well, if this depletion number over here is the combat rating, which I assume it is not because that's not what it says, but if that's what it is, then the Shafir is better, but we don't know. We don't know where they're getting these numbers from. There don't seem to be any charts that say guns are a +3, so we don't know. They have a +1 DRM for the additional weapon available, which is, I guess, the Shafir, not the extra weapon, not the extra gun in the flight. Yeah, so we don't know where the combat value for the gun is. Maybe we'll learn when we read the rules again and go through that and actually try playing the game. But, you know, it's easier to just read this and say, as long as all we're doing is following this fucking script. Okay, so we roll some dice and things happen, right? Roll 2d10, the result is 3 and 10 for a total of 13. We add 4, which is our modifier. 17 is the result on the shot resolution. And we killed a plane. Now that's one of our 3 shots. We don't know what this, okay. And then we roll a second shot, we get a cripple, and a third shot is a damage, which would shoot down another plane, which it's because it's added to the cripple. The Mirage is then checked for their guns to see if they're depleted against their 3 rating on the ADC. Okay, well, they didn't tell us where the gun rating was, but they do tell us the ADC, that's this chart, tells us where the other rating is. Maybe the gun rating is over here. I doubt it, though. Yeah, I don't see it. Air-to-air weapons, guns. No, there's no number there. Oh, here it is. Gun rating is 2(3). The Nesher, the Mirage 3 Nesher has a better gun than most, whereas the Shafir looks like it has no gun, no rating. At least the Shafir 1, if that's what we have. If we have the Shafir 2, it would be better, which isn't surprising. Okay. All right. How do we check this? Well, we roll on something. It doesn't say what chart to roll on. There must be some sort of depletion chart or something like that, but we don't know where that would be. I wish these didn't have the symbols on every fucking sheet because I can't see what's going on. All right, so we're rolling against something that we don't know. No big shock. Okay, so we're checking against the 3 rating. We roll a d10 with -2 TRM for 3 shots taken. Why? We don't know, because we can't find the fucking chart. This game's all about finding the charts, it seems like, and knowing where they all are. Yeah. Okay, so we roll on some unknown chart that we cannot find. It's obviously a 1-die chart, but I mean, you know, whatever. Maybe we'll find it when we start playing. I don't know. I hope so, because otherwise this game will not be playable if we can't find the charts. Hey, maybe there's more charts over here. I fucking mess this is. Alright, we gotta change our battery. Okay. So we roll on the mystery chart and find out that our guns deplete because we got a 2. I mean, really. Where the fuck is this chart? It should be near this, no? I don't see any depletion. 11.34. Alright. If it's not in here. Maybe it's a chart that's in the rule book and not anywhere else. That would make sense. Ammo depletion. Look up the depletion number to shoot. Okay, if you roll less than or equal to. Unfortunately, I don't see the modifiers here. No, you subtract 1 for multiple shots. So, yeah, there's no chart for this. It's a pretty simple thing, but yeah, that's why we couldn't find a chart for it. But given the number of things that are on charts, starting to put stuff just in the rolls, man, this game's too complex for that kind of shit to be played around with. I know, they've used up so many charts that adding more would make it bad too. I just don't think there's an answer. I think the game has just got too much going on in it, unless it becomes your lifestyle game. Okay. So anyway, we had a depletion. The Mirage has to make a morale check. Now, the Mirage is the guy who just shot, right? And he's rolling 13.1. See if we can find that chart. Or if it doesn't exist and we have to just look in the rules. Because some of these charts, I think, are represented. There we go. In the rules without giving you the chart, you know, so that you could understand them like that other simplified one was. So we don't know what's going on here. It rolls on the air-to-air combat column with a +3 aggression. So we find the aggression, they had surprise, they should get +1 more, right? And we should get nothing else to our favor. So we were looking at like +4 on the air-to-air. So we'd roll 2 dice +4, right? Is that what they're saying? Yes, it is. And they say we total at 18, which has no effect. The Mirage flight has to scatter now, which brings us to rule 13.2. Yeah, we're going to be playing this way too. This is going to take me months to get through a couple of planes. I may not play more than one of this thing after this. One actual scenario. Flight scatter, you roll a die for each flight in the combat and follow the instructions on the scatter diagrams. Aha, that's up here. So you roll a die and see where the flight ends up. And in this case, a D10 is an 8, which results in the flight. This shit's gone. Rolling, moving somewhere. 60 degrees right and moving a hex forward. So I think that's this. That matches this. There's 2 ways you can face in this game or be positioned. Well, there's significant numbers of weird things going on here, which this starts to hint at. You're in a hex when you're fighting, which is why you're scattered, but it is possible to be on a hex spine. This unit, for example, would be moving up a hex spine. And in addition, this plane is going to get a maneuver marker. That means it's done some shit, and that'll affect it for some other stuff. Those are technical terms. Okay. It does stay undetected. Our hapless A4 flight would now get to roll for bailouts on the bailout table, and we will not do that. There are no rules for it. Anyway, we just learned how to get beaten up. If you'd like to try this as a two-player scenario, have one player control the Hawk and medium AAA and another player fly the A4 mission profile. The Hawk player should limit his SAM ammo to 2 shots to keep the scenario balanced. The Hawk can add the Mirage flight as an add-on by having it take off on turn 3 from Refidim Airport. Who knows where that is. Anyway, there is no scenario. You have to piece it together from inside of here if you want it to do that. That's it for this. We'll move to the intro next. I'm not going to suggest you watch this first or whatever. This is just a matter of I would not have made it through this without videoing it. I don't know if it helped me. I don't know if it helps you. All that I do know is that I wanted to play an introductory scenario. This ain't what I was hoping for.